Hello, welcome to my channel. So this is part 2 of Elvis and Women, and in here in part 2 you're going to have many women again talking beautifully about Elvis. Now this came out of their lips, their mouths. I have spliced it together, but all the interviews are on YouTube. I really encourage you to go on over and search for some of these amazing women that I've named in here and hear more of what they are discussing Elvis about. It's amazing. Now you can write or you can make negative documentaries. It's very easy to do that. It's very easy to find the darkness, but you need to go and look for the light, and there's so much light, it's insane. So yeah, I'm not painting Elvis out to be without flaws. He was a human being, he had many, like us all, but everything is based on his flaws. This is what sells. Well, guess what? We need to change the narrative. We need to make things that sell the positivity. Go and look for it because it's out there. Elvis had so much of a positive impact on women, and that needs to be told. So enjoy part 2, and yeah, go and look for part 1 if you haven't watched it already, and I shall speak to you all soon. Take care. Elvis forever, TCB.
Been around him with people, other people of color, and I've only seen him give love. He was very generous to people that he didn't even know. You didn't have to be of any racial persuasion for him to love you.
Who can survive with this burden of success? I don't know, because he had such a success that it confined him to this, you know, to this cage he had to live in without any freedom at all.
Elvis was not just another man on the planet. Elvis was sent here. He was an angel. Have you seen that movie, Touched by an Angel?
Yeah.
We all were touched by the same angel, Elvis.
To work with Elvis Presley.
It was absolutely fabulous. It was an extraordinary experience. We just had a fabulous time. I loved him. He was charming. I miss him to this day, always will miss him. And he was that Southern gentleman that we all loved and thought of, and I just ache for what happened with him. It should never have happened, and he was
Being another victim of show business, really. I
yes.
guess.
The first time I'd ever met him. Yeah. And he was just very sweet.
I couldn't accept it for a long time. Sometimes I still, it bothers me because being close to somebody like Elvis, and as far as I'm concerned, there'll never be anybody else like him. And I grew up around him. He was the way of life for us.
But I think the most important thing to remember for anyone that he touched everybody's life somehow. But I know he changed our lives. And when you were with Elvis, it was like you were in a Camelot or a bubble all your own, and nothing bad could ever happen. And, you know, we could never thank him enough for what he did for us.
And he said, well, if you won't do it for Elvis, do it for me. And I said, okay, I'll do it for you. So I went in the next day, and of course, as soon as I looked at him and he looked at me, we just went together. Like
chemistry was there.
Almost like peanut butter and banana sandwich.
Yeah.
And so later on, when Joe and the guys got ready to leave, Joe said, we're going to have to talk about private duty nurses for you. And Elvis said, nah, I'm going to talk to Miss Cock first. And that afternoon, he brought it up himself, and he said, what do you want me to do about nurses? And I said, honey, that's up to you, whatever you want to do. And he said, well, if you want me to have a private duty nurse, I will, but I want you to be the one that takes care of it.
And that was the very initial meeting. And then after we got out from the thing, it was very nice to meet you, and he was his beautiful, polite, and lovely self. And then for the next few days, we get in the boat, go out in the middle of the water, where we got to kind of know each other and rap and chat and sort of get a little more comfortable and familiar. And we became very good friends.
He was just a sweet person.
This is the house that Elvis bought for me. He bought it in 1974. And he came and picked the house out for me. And I liked it, and he liked it. So he said, well, Mary, this is your house, if you like it. I told him I loved it. It was really nice.
We stayed that night until 9 o'clock, and Elvis came down on the golf cart. And as soon as he got off, my friend asked him if I could have my picture made with him. And he said, sure, come on up here. And he was just so gorgeous and so nice and very kind.
And was able to meet him. I was introduced to him and got to shake his hand and said, I'll never wash my hand for the next year or whatever. So that was quite exciting. But it was just a great group that he was traveling with, and we just had a great time and able to just communicate and talk, and couldn't stop looking at his eyes. They were gorgeous. He wasn't any different. I mean, he was just so warm and friendly, and thank yous and may I, and he was a Southern gentleman. I mean, you could really tell that he was a Southern gentleman and raised by a great family, just because he was just so warm and friendly and polite and wonderful.
Really fast, yes, and loved him. Vegas was where I met him. We performed at the International. The hotel in the movie that they showed him at was the hotel we performed with family, my family, Donnie and Marie shows. We had ice skaters, lasers. It was really fun at that time. But I remember seeing him in the halls. He would call my mom all the time. We would show up and there'd be flower bouquets from the floor to the ceiling for my mom. He loved her. And I think in a lot of ways, she reminded him of his mom.
And I really loved working with him because Elvis was a listener. He tried to hear what somebody said to him and react to the truth, not to a script. And I think that was a tremendous lesson for me for all of my life.
1 minute to wrap up, and we all liked him. God knows I met him a lot, and our kids went to school together. I thought he was terrific. If there's one word, and I'll start, that we have to say, one word about Elvis, I would say a gentleman. What would you say?
Certainly a gentleman, a sexy gentleman.
Sexy gentleman.
Yes.
Keep adding adjectives.
Yeah.
Sexy gentleman.
I think he was a sexy, southern, caring, very special person that we probably won't see his like again.
Remember this. Sexy southern gentleman.
I would say also that he's a sexy southern gentleman that is the biggest star that has ever been made in the world.
And Nancy, round it up.
I would call him my lonely friend.
That's very sad and very dear, and I thank all of you. What a great slice to look at him. Whole different way of looking at him.
My aunt, Sissy Houston, was part of a group called the Sweet Inspiration. They were doing background work for him on his tour. And I just fell in love with this man. I said, my God, I got to meet him. I got to meet him. And Sissy said, okay, I'll introduce you to him. So I went to the rehearsal, and he was such a nice young man to me. I told him I was opening at the Sands. He says, yeah, but we were opening the same night. I said, okay. And he says, well, I'm gonna do something for you that I think you might like. I said, okay, wonderful. He put his photograph in every single album in every record store in Las Vegas for me. I sold more albums because he made the announcement from the stage that if you buy a Dionne Warwick recording, you'll have a photograph of me. I could not believe he did that, but he did.
Did you ever sing with him?
No, I never had the opportunity to do that.
Oh,
but I became friends with him because, funny story, we were in a jewelry store where he shopped, and I did too. It was Christmas time, and they usually closed the store for him to come in and do his shopping. I happened to be in the store when he walked in, so they locked me in with him. Which is okay with me. Anyway, we started talking, and he says, you know, I'm certain you have a wonderful throat doctor. My daughter Lisa has got to have her tonsils out. Do you know of a good... I said, yeah, my doctor. He did both of my boys, and I'm sure he'd be able to do Lisa. And he never forgot that. And Lisa never did either. She says, it's because you don't have any tonsils. Okay.
Personally, he could not have been more charming. He apparently had a big crush on me from the Dick Van Dyke Show, but it was not a tangible thing. It was very much from afar and on this pedestal, and he would call me ma'am if he wasn't paying attention. And pawing at the ground like a kind of a teenager. He was older than I was, but he was very much taken with me.